and he's loose again. Edwards off and running. Like the back down to Edwards. They hand it off to Johnson. Boise State has won. Right now, and they take a downfield shot. And the catch is made. It's Riley Williams. Still sitting free. Touchdown. Going for the corner. He got it.
All right, Louisville fans, welcome into the next edition of the Gridiron Uncensored podcast. And it's clear to see in this image, we're talking season preview. We're talking all things Louisville here on this episode. It's just me tonight, Brennan. I appreciate your time. And hopefully you guys enjoy what we got to say here, because I'm liking what this Louisville team has to offer. Before we get into 2025, I always kind of, with the team, we always look at 2024 before we move into, what we're seeing on the 2025, this current season. So, real quick, you guys already know, but for anybody else that isn't a Louisville fan or didn't really pay attention, to the whole season, this is what you got. Louisville went 9-4 last season. It was a good year, but there was a lot of, a couple one-score losses here that really left a lot to be desired. Especially, I feel like that Stanford loss was a tough one to swallow. With just how they've been. Miami, I feel like you can kind of get over that one. Okay, they're expected to be, playoff caliber team. Still laugh that they missed it. SMU, tough loss there, and then Notre Dame. So can they get over, the 9-win hump there? Can they push into the ACC title race? All these things we're going to talk about, here in just a few minutes. Now, talking about 2024, it's done, it's over, but there's potential and building blocks from that season. You look at the numbers, returning production, 58% on the year. They're bringing back good returning production, not just returning production, but good returning production. And then you have the S&P Plus is something I like to look at and follow throughout the year. Obviously, Bill Connolly shows Louisville as the 24th best team in the country, just based on the last couple of years of data. And of course that gets, pushed through as the season goes. And there's actually, in year stats that change that up. But it just shows that this Louisville team is constantly in that realm of they're a good team. You don't overlook them. So let's go ahead and let's talk some 2025. Going from 24 into 25, offense was 13th in the country. Defense was 64th in the country. I want to see that defense improve just a little bit. We're going to get into that soon. But when you look at it, coaching staff, largely the same. Really, Vince Morrow's coming in, player personnel, kind of a front office type body. I see a lot of teams actually doing that right now. And some teams it's working pretty nicely. And Louisville is a team that I feel like the administration's bought in, obviously the coaching staff, football wise, they're bought in on trying to, be that type of team that can go win ACC championships. And it shows 31st in the transfer portal. And, it doesn't always matter the ranking, because you can get good players and still not have a high ranked, portal class, but quality is there. And, looking at, get some guys that I wrote down as, key ins, key out. Like, you brought in 30, you lost 28. So fine ratio there. Moose on the O-line coming in, that's important. Really, the entire offensive line class is important. I wrote down names, and I'm like, God damn, all these guys that I'm writing down that are important are offensive linemen. Sam Seacrest being another one. Nair Jackson. But on the out, Mills, that was a tough loss. Obviously, he got injured. That sucks. But still, him leaving, it hurt. Will Spencer's one that I wrote down. Clowney came in and then left. Jamar Johnson, Rager, and then Neal was, safety. Some guys that I wrote as kind of, tough losses there. But again, what you brought in was nice. And, Miller Moss is obviously important piece. I accidentally just misread on him. But Miller Moss, of course, that's the offense. You've got to have a good quarterback. And what he did at USC, I thought was nice. But USC has just kind of been funky. And Lincoln Riley, I know he's a quarterback whisperer, bullshit, whatever. I don't like how it's been going over there, and I think what Louisville can bring to the table with Brom at coach. I think it'll actually do him favors with Miller Moss coming in. I look to see this actually helping his career. So let's just go ahead and talk about it. Let's get in the offense. Miller Moss coming in from USC. We mentioned that he can sling the ball. The thing I want to see from him is just cutting down on that turnover a little bit. He was at 9, so it's not horrible. 18 touchdowns, 64% completion percentage. But the USC team around him was kind of hit and miss too. It's just, again, that the USC program, they've got talent, they've got all these things, but it's just, to me, it's just not really great coached. People are talking about that USC is a playoff contender this year. I don't know. I don't see it, but that's neither here nor there. I think Miller Moss moving on, coming over to run with Jeff Brom, I think that's good for him. And if he can just tone down the interceptions a little bit, like the Washington game, he had 3, 50 passing attempts, almost 300 yards, but still 3 picks, and then you lose in a 1-score game. Louisville doesn't want to have 1-score losses again. So if he can dial that in, I think it's going to be good. When you look at what's around him, the Brom offense, it's impressive. It always is. 13th in the country last year, and you got halfbacks returning good production there. Brown's a nice back, and then out wide, who does Miller Moss throw to? Chris Bell's good. Colin Lacey, I think, is good wide receiver, and then the field, But no matter when and where Brom is, I feel like the receivers around him in his program always find a way to produce. Like, it doesn't matter if it's third guy, fourth guy, big time players leave. He still gets wide receivers to be involved and to help out the quarterback. So I'm expecting that again out of this offense. So offense should be lethal again. When I'm looking at it, you got a good quarterback. The offensive line, you killed it in the portal, in my opinion. It's still kind of a question just because of hoping they gel quickly. But the players, from Pounders, coming in from Mississippi State, we mentioned Musa, Nair Jackson, guys like that. These are all guys that will be in that rotation and will be starting. So I think there's depth there. I just want to see it gel. So that's kind of why I have it as a concern. But the offense under Brom always shows that it can manage. So you run the ball, you're strong in the passing attack. I like what this offense brings to the table. Now let's talk a little bit of defense. And last year we mentioned that it was 64th, in the country. But really up front, I thought they had some pretty solid additions also in the portal. Guys up, in the edge, in the interior, linebacker position, cornerbacks. I mean, all across the defense, you're getting guys that can come in and contribute, at least in the depth, and help out there. Safety wise, I think more starters on that regard. So when I'm looking at up front, Clev Lubin, that's a guy coming over from Coastal Carolina. They've got a pretty good history of developing guys and then having them get picked up in the portal. You look at Michigan, Josiah Stewart, same type of thing. So I'm curious to see how he steps in because he had a good season last year. And then Wes Bailey's another guy that I saw as somebody that I think can step up. Big Ten type guy, 6'5", 265 edge rusher. I just want to see if this team can get a little bit more pressure in the crucial downs. You got to get over that 1-score hump. These are guys that need to step up to get you there. Linebacker, looking at that, through message boards, everything that I try to get into. From what I'm reading, you guys love what you have at linebacker. Couple of good additions in the portal from what I'm seeing. Darius Thomas coming up from Western Kentucky. I think that's Western Kentucky is a solid team last year. They've had good pieces. And even if he's not starting, that's a good player to have in that depth pool. I think the linebacker position's nice. Caleb Perry coming over from Tennessee. there's pieces all across in the depth there that I'm not concerned about the middle at all. The defensive back concerns me just a little bit. There was losses in the portal, that hurt, but still, you brought in guys like JoJo Evans, Corey Gordon, guys like that are going to step in immediately and try to help shore up those holes. So again, it's just how do they mesh, how do they fit in with the team, culture wise, all that stuff. And again, that this is something that I don't really worry about with this coaching staff because he's proven it everywhere he's gone that the culture's there. They trust in the coach, and they find ways to win. They'll knock off a team they're not supposed to. They might lose to a team they're supposed to, or they're not supposed to. Excuse me. But Brom's building something here, and I think that this is going to be a different season. So I guess let's go look at the schedule because again, up front, decent people, decent additions coming in. Excuse me. I think the depth on the D line is better. Linebacker's good, and defensive back. Just want to see it, I guess, before I buy in completely. But I like what they bring. Now, I'm going to pull up the schedule here on your end and on mine because over here, mine's really freaking small for some reason. So pulling it up, 2025 schedule. What I'm looking at, I think it lays out really nicely for this Louisville team, especially in the front half. And I mentioned it, the over-under. I'm going to flip back in my notes here, 8.5. I'm looking at a lot of teams, a lot of freaking teams. The ACC is a little bit more, wide when it comes to the top and bottom of the over-unders as opposed to the Big 12 where it's like the lowest over-under was 5.5, the highest was 8.5. Here there's a little more spread. Either way, 8.5 for Louisville. And you got Eastern Kentucky first. That's a win. I'm not even worried about it. James Madison, that's a tricky team. We covered the group of 5, and that's one of the teams that I think that can contend for a playoff spot from the group of 5. Especially, if they win their conference, whatever. I don't think they're like Boise State level or, whoever else, Tulane, whatever. It's still a team that can force a team to stumble. So we cannot look over it, but I'm still chalking that up as a win. Bowling Green, they lost, their biggest piece. I think that'll be a win. And then you really get into it. So I'm saying 3-0 to start, and then you play Pitt. And I like that Pitt team. I think Holstein's a really nice quarterback. Especially if he's healthy, he's going to be dangerous, and you cannot overlook it. I was in a group chat, and somebody's mentioning Pitt, and they said that they're just a shit program, like all these things. Whatever, it might be true. I mean, your Louisville fans are probably going to agree, but I think they can be dangerous, and I would not look over them. I know you beat them last year, but once Holstein went down, it was a totally different team. So he's back. Watch out for that game. It's at Pitt. And then you play Virginia, which brings in Chandler Morris. So there's an offensive threat immediately. Defensive backs, the part that I said I had a slight concern, on this team, they're going to be tested. And that's one that your rushers, Clev Leuven coming in, they've got to get on their ass immediately. And then you take a nice little bye week there. So even the way I look at that, you can easily start 5-0. Easily. Even 4-1, not bad. All right. But then you go play at Miami. And this is a team that has gone out and they've portaled hard again. Mario Cristobal's trying to figure out how the hell to get to a playoff after he blew it again last year. You guys are trying to look for revenge. Circle that one. I'm really interested in that one. That could be it's going to be a massive game for this Louisville team. Boston College after that. It's a team that, we just recently covered, and they've got pieces across the board. They're well coached team, I think, but I just think Louisville is going to be too much for them. And the Boston College schedule is not very easy either, especially at this stretch. Virginia Tech's another one that's kind of going in between, middling and, what their expectations were a lot higher last year. They didn't reach those. What are they going to be this year? Probably in the same mold. So you can't look it over. It's in Blacksburg. But again, I think Louisville has just got the talent, and then Miller Moss being there, that'll help them get over it. Cal taking that as a win, and then you got really the last three: Clemson, SMU, Kentucky. That's a tough three-game stretch to finish there. SMU, I think they're going to be in the same realm as last year. They're going to be a tough team to beat. They're going to be pushing for the ACC title game. Clemson as well. They're national title contenders in my book, and pretty much everybody. Just from what they return, veteran quarterback, all that shit. It's gonna be tough. So really, the start of the season, you guys, if you're trying to get to that playoff positioning, and really, yeah, an at-large bid would be nice, even if you don't make the ACC title game. But you guys want that ACC title. That's what you're hoping for. And if you're going to do that, you've got to start undefeated, against, Pitt, Virginia. But you've got to beat Miami, because after that, it's the last 3 games of the season. And the Kentucky game doesn't matter in the race for the ACC. You all know that. But Clemson's going to be tough, and so is SMU. You could see a 3-loss season here. And again, the over-under is 8.5. Cannot lose all 3 in the ACC race if you want to get into that, conference championship. I know that's, whatever. As simple as you can be. Everybody knows that. No shit, Brendan. Got it. But I'm just saying it, it's stating the obvious here. But hey, Kentucky at the end, finish out with that. I don't know. I like this team. The last couple games are tough. You cannot stumble. You can maybe lose to Clemson, but you can't lose to SMU again this year. Can't do it. Cannot do it. So I'm looking at the over under. I think they take the over at definitely getting 9. I could see 10. I could see 11. I really could. I mean, you guys should be able to play anybody on this schedule, and you should be able to beat them. I don't see any reason why you cannot. It needs to happen. You can't let those little slip ups happen. The 1-score losses. Can Miller Moss get you over the hump? I think he can. And I think this is a team that's going to fight to the nail to get in that conference championship race. So I'm going over 9, 10, 11, somewhere in there. I don't know yet. We're going to do our conference breakdowns later, but these are just team previews and kind of what we're seeing. I like the team. The offense is good. Defense is going to be solid. I like what you guys got. Let us know, why should I be more optimistic? Is 11 like legit? Can that happen? Or do you think you guys are going to kind of have that similar season where it's like the 9, maybe 8, something bounces wrong and you take a bad loss to, say, Cal this year, like what happened with Stanford last season? Let us know. Hit us in the comments. Subscribe if you like it. Again, we're outside looking in. We cover all the nation, all across college football. So we're outside looking in, just trying to see what we see here. And I don't know, ACC is an interesting conference, and I think the top got a little bit stronger this year. And at Florida State, you don't have to play them. I know Florida State last year was shit, but it's something to watch out for in the conference race. So, again, we appreciate your time. Hope you guys have a good one, and we'll see you in the comments. Take care.